Now, typically in most applications, it's always better to hive off your functionality like the routes into their separate files and modules. That allows you to manage the code in a much better way. So what we're going to do now is you're going to create a folder called routes. And inside of this folder, I'm going to create a file called routes.js. And what we'll do is we will remove the route that we have mentioned in the file in the app.js, and we're going to move it into its own module. And the way we will do that is inside the routes.js, we're going to start by writing module.exports is equal to create an anonymous function. And since we're using Express 4.0, we're going to use the brand new Express router. To do that, we'll say var router is equal to express.router and use this instance of the router to define all your routes. And the way you do that is you'll say router.get, where get is the method. Inside the bracket, mention the first route, which is the / default route, followed by the function which has request, response, and the next keyword. And we're going to render our index page just like how we were doing it earlier. So response.render index.html, or just the index, followed by the object which we had created last time. So welcome to ChatCat. So this is the default route that we have created. Let's create one more route. So we'll say router.get / chat rooms, and again followed by function request, response, and the next keyword. And this time we're going to do a response.render, and we have the chat rooms page, where all we will do is we'll just pass in a title called chat rooms. Okay, so this will be a good point to begin. Finally, we are going to use the app.use method and set the default route to be handled by the instance of the router that we have just created. Okay, so once you have set up the routes.js file this way using the Express router module, we're going to go back into the app.js and we're going to get rid of this code. And instead of this, we're going to call the routes.js module into our app. We're going to do that by saying require routes folder routes.js, and once we have called the file, remember that we had created a function here. We need to invoke the function. Now, one other thing you'll notice is that within the routes.js file, the variable router requires an instance of the Express app, and it also requires the instance of the app which we had initialized in the app.js file. So what we're going to do is we're going to create two arguments here with references to the Express and the app, and back in the app.js we will pass these references. So a reference to Express and a reference to the app variable. So this way you can hive off functionality from your core app into their individual modules, allowing you better management of your entire code. So let's see if this works. This is going to go back and restart my app. And as expected, if you go to the default route, you'll see the login page. But now if I go to the address bar and if I type /chat rooms, you'll see that you'll get inside the chat rooms page. Now the reason why the CSS is not getting loaded is because we need to go back into the views folder. We need to go into the chat rooms page, and remember, just like last time, we need to remove all references to the public folder, which would be there in the default files that you downloaded from Udemy. So now that we refresh, you'll see that the page renders correctly, and it shows you the page on these routes. Okay, so this is very, very important that you understand how the functionality is divided into separate modules. Over the course of this app, there are different modules that we are going to create, and we will create separate files for all these modules, so that if there is any change needed, we can go to that specific module file and we can make the changes easily. And this also allows you to manage the entire app in a much, much better way.